the highlights for Will and Alfred if they join. So roll call, Courtney's on, Janet's on, Skip is on, Mike Travato, Kevin Coakley, Joe Aberdale, Kurt, myself, David, and I missed the pronunciation of your name, David.
Rosh.
Rosh, okay, thank you. And that's it. So first order of business would be to, review and approval of the minutes of meeting. Two meetings, one on September the 10th. So if anyone has any comments to those minutes, and if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Kevin. And we'll look for a second.
I think Skip seconded. Skip has to unmute himself. So yeah.
I say I pass that we go ahead and pass those the meeting notes.
As a second? Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Anyone opposed say nay?
I have to abstain, I wasn't there, Chris.
Okay. And then the second order of business pertaining to minutes of meeting would be the ones from September 15th. And this was the one where we reviewed the GEI proposal for them to prepare the RFP documents. So again, take a minute, let me know if anyone has comments. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second it.
All right, I got Joe making the motion and the second was by whom? Kevin? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain, Kurt.
Yep. Okay. Next thing on the agenda would be to take a quick look at the action item list. As always, the updates are in red. Many of them are closed. And I think we can quickly just identify the ones that are still open. So going through, the first open item is number 8, Conservation Commission. And this pertains to a reissue of the notice of intent because it had previously expired. So GEI sent it out and they anticipate having a meeting on October 21st with the Conservation Commission. So this item is currently in progress. Number 13 is an older item, still appropriate though when we get to the town dredging. As we get closer to that, we'll need to review all of the conditions imposed on the town by the various permits. So we'll keep that one open for now. 15, we also will be seeking state funds, and this is something that was reassigned a few weeks ago to Joe and Harry. And so this remains open and ongoing. Also number 19 goes in conjunction with when we review the conditions imposed on the town. Kurt had some comments on these. So when we circle back on item 13, which does not apply to the channel dredging, but in the future when we circle back, we will do items 13 and 19 both. The rest of the items are closed up through 25B. 26, we've talked about in the past about the possibility of getting permits to do 2 feet over dredge instead of 1 for the basin. Right now, the whole basin work is still in the permit phase, so this one remains open as well. And 28 is really the crux of the permit issue for the mooring basin. The others are status as shown. Number 32 has to do with National Marine Fisheries. It's really subsumed by item number 28. So, Joe, I can close this and refer back to number 28. It's not an item that we're going to miss, I'm sure of that. Or I can leave it open, whatever your preference is, Joe.
Why don't we take it up with the agenda item
Okay,
and combine it with that?
okay. Number 34 is open, last call. Skip, you were looking for possible resources for the future within NOAA.
That's
Any
correct,
update on that?
but I have nothing to report new on that.
Okay. And then number 35 is open and is part of our overall strategy, which really wouldn't surface until November at the earliest. The other items in a separate section pertain to maintenance dredging, and so that's obviously out in the future. Does anybody have any new items that we should add to this list? Okay. I'll clean it up, and the items that have shown as closed, I'll hide the row. They'll be retrievable, but it'll make the list more workable. Item 3 on the agenda has to do with the Army Corps permit and National Marine Fisheries issues and strategies. And Joe, I think best if you could give us an update, give everybody an update on some of the discussions and path forward on this.
Sure. The issue on the table presently is the approval by the Army Corps of the footprint permits for areas 1 and areas 2. Our goal from the beginning has been to get approval for both areas at the same time. That is no longer possible. In order for us to do piggyback dredging, hopefully in December, the Area 1 permit would have to be issued now. There's one final piece that the Army Corps needs to do. It's called a 408 review. It's a procedural matter, and they expect that to be done in 3 weeks. At that time, the permit would put us in a position to do piggyback dredging. The reason why Army Corps is insistent at this point in time, supported by GEI engineers, is because Area 2 is a point of contention with National Marine Fisheries Service, a federal agency. And because Area 2 has not been dredged in over 50 years, last time was in 1957, they are considering it brand new dredging. They call it a beneficial mudflat at this point in time. So it's going to have to go to the process of mitigation. That process was used by us and the state agency, the Endangered Species Agency, regarding the turtles issue. And we negotiated with them at that time and reached a cash settlement. The permit was subsequently issued. At that time, we negotiated directly at the table with the representatives from the Endangered Species Turtle Agency. This time, the process is different. We cannot deal directly in mitigation with the Fisheries Service. They deal only with the Army Corps. The Army Corps has a mitigation person who represents our interest at the table and negotiates, hopefully, an agreement with National Marine Fisheries. That then goes to the one of the directors in the Army Corps who will review it and possibly modify it. That person does not have to agree with the recommendation made by National Marine Fisheries Service. So the process is one at that point where Army Corps deals with our engineering company, GEI, who deals with us. And at various points, we can have conference calls directly with the Army Corps people, with GEI at the table. That process, I'm told, can take as long as a year. So that was another reason why it was in our interest to split off the permits, get the Area 1 now, and then go to work on Area 2. But Army Corps has the final say on that mitigation recommendation. And that can be either a cash payment, it can be a project in town, or it can be a combination of both. And Area 2 dredging doesn't begin until that permit is issued. And of course, the target date for that is 2 years from now. The rest, Area 1 being done next year. We did receive news that GEI has agreed with us regarding the area and the boundaries of Area 2, a little under 24 acres. So they're going to represent us with Army Corps and establish that that is their recommendation as well, that Area 2 be recognized as we have always known it. The procedures to secure these permits is so different from 2001 when dredging was last done. There are huge bureaucracies to work through. There are various levels of approval that have to be met. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that in the last 3 weeks, Chris and I have probably spent 10, 12 hours easily between receiving documents and writing responses to them and 45-minute conference calls. But we're plowing ahead, and in the immediate future, it looks like the permit is going to be ours for Area 1, and hopefully the dredging will be done by November 30th of the channel, as the contractor has stated. I think our challenge now is to get the bidding process in order. The documents have been approved by KP Law. They were sent with some modifications back to GEI, and GEI was supposed to finish approving those modifications today, unless they contest any of them. And then it would follow the process needed to go out to receive bids to do the piggyback dredging. And if we think back a while back to the conference call on dredging, at that time, Cashman, the contractor who is doing the dredging now, expressed an interest in bidding on the contract to do piggyback dredging in the month of December. I think that covers everything. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Could you say again what the issue was in terms of the remuneration being a cash item or something the town does?
Well, the mitigation process to reach agreement with the Army Corps and National Marine Fisheries is a mitigation process. And that agreement can be all of a cash payment. It can consist only of a town project, a conservation project, for example, or a combination of the two.
Thank you.
Joe, do we have any idea what the size and scope of said project or money would look like? I mean,
Of area 1 or 2?
for area 2.
Yeah, the documents are all available. I mean, we can email them to you, but basically the footprint is the area that we have always known as area 2 mooring.
I think, Kurt, was your question more about what size project would be accepted for mitigation?
Right.
Yes.
In other words, are
We
they looking
don't-
for a dollar amount or an
No,
acreage?
no.
Or?
We, in the last conference call we had with Army Corps, we have asked for them to develop some parameters with National Marine Fisheries, what they would find acceptable in terms of cash and or a project. And the plan is we will respond once they issue those parameters to us. And we are still waiting for that.
Because I'm thinking we have several projects that might qualify right off the top. You know, one would be the Hilda, the Hilda Trust
Yeah.
acquisition.
Yeah, we
'Cause
thought of that if they were going to go retroactive and give us credit for that. I'm somewhat
Well,
doubtful about that.
I'm
Yeah,
in favor of pursuing that. What else, Kurt? You have some others?
Yeah, I have another one, but the other thing, even with the Hilda thing, Joe, I hear you on the retroactive, which gets sticky. But what we might be able to do is, for example, designate the town. The town has control of the Hilda Trust, and it might be possible to designate a certain part of the trust in a certain way that Marine Fisheries would look at and say, oh, well, they've in perpetuity dedicated X amount of the area to a specific type of preservation purpose for which we would recognize that. So just as another concept.
Yep,
The
and we're
other
going to
thing-
pursue that.
Yeah,
and
Kurt,
the
I like that idea, Kurt, particularly because in a perfect world, we'll satisfy marine fisheries. But the other part of it, as Joe indicated, is Army Corps can override them. So if it appeals to Army Corps, that may give them the inspiration to override them. So I think it's a good project that we should take a look at and try and carve out something with some specificity to it.
The other thing is the town's already approved, and what will probably be a part of the of our watershed permit for wastewater is the Mayo Creek project. That's been approved by the Board of Selectmen to be pursued. That's a 24-acre salt marsh restoration in the basin, which will also help reduce infiltration and resiltation of the the pier area, especially the north area, North Channel. So that's another project that's on the radar with a Board of Selectmen approval that might be useful as mitigation.
Mhm. Walter Barron and our Marina Committee was a member of that committee, which I believe was disbanded last June, but they made specific recommendations to the select board, and I think that's worth pursuing as well.
Yeah, and also as part of our wastewater plan, we within probably the next 6 months or so, we will have the outlines of a watershed permit with DEP. That project will be in that plan as part of our wastewater management strategy. So we'll have some other documentation to support the town's interest in moving forward with that, that might count toward, that might help for, bolstering the case for that being good mitigation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, anything else relative to the permit situation and the marine fisheries issue?
I know you guys already know this, but to hear that the Hilta land would be retroactive, it was only a year and 4 months ago that it was purchased, and it is 20 acres of salt marsh, and I know that's important, for them to know that I don't think it has to be designated, but the town certainly could designate it. Salt marsh is already designated, for mitigation of, and, but I don't know, that's a pretty big chunk of protection there. So I don't know if we can play it up more or.
I think we should. I mean, also we should play up the idea that we shouldn't be penalized for having been proactive in advance.
Yeah, that it worked out this way, that we are protecting it. So.
That is definitely going to be on the board as we plot our strategy.
Okay.
Or, even another thought, Joe, is that, the town's making commitments to restoration and protection and, call it mitigation in a variety of other ways. I mean, the town's got an overall strategy to preserve and protect the resources. And sometimes, this might be a case where fisheries could look at the overall resource protection plan of the town and say, okay, in these areas, they're doing restoration, they're doing mitigation. And in this area, obviously it's an active working pier. You're going to have impacts there, and they're clearly offset by other activities the town's engaged in. So maybe we can make a broader case too. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Well, certainly along those lines, the ongoing Herring River project should be included as well.
Right.
And it is moving along. They are getting their permits, and I don't know if you need a presentation on how far it's gotten, but we're discussing with the seashore, the roads and high toss, and it's moving along. It'll still take a long time. It's moving.
It's also involving the federal government.
Yeah.
And that might be helpful for marine fisheries to make a contact with. The largest project of its kind in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my thought there was that, I would hate to see us get sucked into a discussion with marine fisheries where they're looking at this thing in a vacuum and not looking at it in context.
Well, that was one of the points that Chris and I hit pretty hard on with the Army Corps and the GEI people, that we have limitations because 70% of the land in town is federal property, which we can't do anything on. However, we briefed them that we're going to look at a whole bunch of items and try everything we can. Hopefully that we could agree upon a project without giving them any cash, a project that would be to their satisfaction, perhaps starting with the Hilda.
Joe, do you know when we originally applied for this permit for Area 2?
I think that goes back like 4 years.
So before Hilda Trust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that would be
Good
actually
point,
incongruent.
Yeah, that's a good point, Will.
The other thing that just occurred to me too, Joe, is especially with regard to national marine fisheries, both the Mayo Creek project, which is a salt marsh restoration, and the acquisition by the town of Hilda, which includes acquisition of salt marsh, those habitats are fish breeding habitat, primary fish breeding habitat. And I will pull a report that they did, which talks about the fact that 90% of the commercially and recreationally important marine fish species originate or need salt marsh for reproduction. And, you know, as another component to support the idea that these salt marsh activities, Herring River, Mayo Creek, the acquisition of Hilda Trust is restoring and preserving and protecting in perpetuity substantially important fish habitat.
Mhm. We're going to throw everything we can at them.
Joe, do you think you should contact, or I could contact Superintendent Carlstrom with the Seashore to write a letter to say that, you know, the progress of the Herring River restoration, anything from that would be helpful, or would it matter?
I think that would be very helpful when we're ready. I
Okay,
think the first thing we need to do, so we're not scattered and doing unnecessary work and looking at things that won't be eligible, is to hear back from them what their parameters are. And then, you know, we can strategize from there to put all these ideas together.
Yeah, that makes sense, Joe.
Okay, move on to the next agenda item. Just any updates on political support and additional resources. We've kind of touched on that. I guess, Joe, maybe you can also summarize the path forward on when and which resources we might invoke.
Well, as we utilized in the past when we secured the state permits, there's our state delegation, our congressional delegation, and our lobbyist. And also this time around, there is the Office of Economic Quality in the White House, which we have the right to appeal to if we cannot reach agreement in mitigation. So when we get the parameters back and we go to work on making the offers that we would like to make, I think we will know a lot more then about timing and if we're going to utilize those political resources. If we reach agreement, there's no need to.
Right.
If we don't, then I think we have to look in that direction. We would not want to do it now because I think they haven't had an opportunity to respond, and I think that would make them angry. So we're giving the balls in their lap. We're giving them the opportunity to respond, get the parameters to us. We go to work, we submit our offers, and see what happens.
okay.
Joe, do you know where in National Marine Fisheries, you know, who handles this?
I don't. No. They have made it quite clear they don't want direct contact with us. The only direct contact they want with is Army Corps. That's their MO that they always use.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to piggyback dredging. And Mike Travato has been shepherding this through. He's reached out and gotten comments from outside legal counsel. He's conveyed them back to GEI. And at that point, Mike, if you could pick up what the status is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Joe's pretty much explained some of this, but town council reviewed GEI's contract and made necessary changes, and those were approved by GEI. And then GEI just sent us an amended contract. That contract now just has to get select board approval, which I have to put on the next agenda, and then the TA will sign it. The town administrator will then sign it, and GEI can move forward then with the procurement process at that point.
GEI told us that they were hoping that it would be approved at the next select board meeting. Is that not tomorrow at 1 o'clock?
It's not on the agenda, so that can't be discussed, but the next meeting is it, we do have
Next
to wait
week.
2 more weeks.
Is it 2 more weeks, Janet? Because we
Yeah,
had in
because
between. I thought it was next week. GEI, by the way, GEI did, we just did not get GEI to return that contract around in time because we have a 48-hour lead time for open meeting law purposes that it has to be posted. So it wasn't able, they didn't get it back to us. And not that it was their fault, it was a time deadline that they were under the gun for and couldn't meet.
Yeah, that's all depends upon how the calendar falls, and the second Tuesday of October is the 13th. I don't see any problem. Is Courtney on? That
Well-
maybe we could have a special meeting, you know, an
That
executive.
would be my request because GEI is under the gun. They, as Joe said, they need 8 weeks for the process. They have to put the documents together. So
Okay.
could you have a special meeting?
Janet, there's a bunch of procedures involved, advertising, time to get the bids and so forth. We're really under the gun.
Okay,
So anything that could be done to hold a meeting sooner than October 13th would really be helpful, just for that purpose.
okay. Well, during my meeting tomorrow, I'll request that we have either an executive session or just a special meeting, like next Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I'll probably attend that anyway to answer any questions and
Okay.
do a briefing if needed.
Can you send me, email me what the agenda item should say? What do we want to say? Like special
Sure.
request for dredging contract?
We'll work up something.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
we'll
get
email
that,
it.
yeah, yeah, so anytime tomorrow, because we have to post 48 hours ahead, so we really have, you know, we could do it.
Yeah.
I would think Monday would be good. Yeah,
We'll have the email out tomorrow morning to you.
okay.
What time is your meeting?
1 o'clock,
Okay, we'll have it to you in the morning.
okay.
Okay, let's move on to the channel dredging. And Will, if you could give us an update. I think probably most people know there's been some trailers showing up and there's a dredge sitting out there. And what other details can you share with us, Will?
Yeah, they have Wood One. That's the dredge that's out there. They brought in a tug last night, a tug for the barges and things. And 2 more of the scows, the big scow and the little scow, are showing up, I believe, tonight or tomorrow morning. And then they'll be all set to, they've started setting up shop on the barge and running their crews back and forth, going through all the motions to begin. And they are ready.
Okay,
They're ready to dig. We've had our safety meeting with the fire and police department.
oh, good, good.
We're all on page with that. And and obviously with Cashman and the Army Corps as well. So everyone's on board. It's been running back and forth around the harbor lately and getting ready. They got their crew boat in the water, pontoon boat as you've seen. They had their survey boat out there today, back and forth. That's in the parking lot right now. And you know, the scouts should be coming from Boston tonight or tomorrow.
Great. Any questions for Will? Okay, next item is the public outreach, and this was something that we had reviewed in previous meetings and recently finalized it. It's been issued and/or distributed, as well as posted on several of the town website pages, specifically I think the Marina page, the Shellfish page, and the Dredging Task Force page.
Nancy also broadcasted that to recreational and commercial fishermen. And I broadcasted it to every, all 680 marina users with email addresses on file.
Wow, great. Okay, Janet, you wanted to bring something up?
Yeah, so Joe's been around, and Kurt have been around, but I've always looked forward, and we've talked about when the time is right, is to have some sort of a celebration, recognition. I never wanted to do it until I really saw the equipment there and the boats there. maybe it's still a little premature because I would love to say we're piggybacking and getting the phase 2 done, but we should start thinking about who we want to recognize, who's been on the previous committees. I envisioned Senator Markey and Senator Sear and Representative Pete coming down and having oysters and champagne on the pier, but I don't know how practical that is. Soda for some. But any suggestions, or email me with suggestions or dates, or is it too early to recognize people who have done their hard work?
I think it's a bit early.
I agree.
Very soon, the channel dredging and hopefully the piggyback dredging will be done. And then perhaps we could get together at your house, Janet, or down the pier.
I tell you, I just get chills when I think about dredging actually done. And I don't even use the water. I don't have a boat
Right.
anymore. I don't eat oysters, but to just see the beauty of this harbor getting cleaned out makes me so happy. So yeah, I'll have it at my house.
Well, we can gather at the pier after the piggyback is done and break a bottle of champagne over the
Yeah, okay. And then just, I've got the previous people on the, or people on the previous committees, but if there's anybody can think of that may have fallen through the cracks or something, just email me some names.
I'll work with you on that, Janet.
Okay. You deserve it, Joe. All the work. I mean, Chris has done an amazing job, but how long ago was the first committee, Corton?
We started almost 7 years ago.
7 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And our lives were consumed then with the diamond terrapin turtle in the harbor, running around with little GPS units on its back.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking today, just remember it wasn't that long ago when Dennis was wondering how we can do this ourselves, right? When we were planning on how to dig ourselves. And Chris and I are joking about everybody should bring a bucket. But we've come a long way, and I really appreciate all the work you guys have done.
Well, we're in good hands. Going back through the years, the original amount for dredging the channel was $5 million. But the Army Corps engineers also told us that the rate of additional silt flowing into the harbor is between 8,000 and 12,000 cubic yards a year. So we know it's going to be more than 5 million. And Army Corps has stated to us that once they start a project like that, they have some wiggle room in their budget and through Congress to get additional funds if needed to complete the channel.
Oh, good. Good to hear.
So that's the first big step, provided the weather cooperates, the equipment doesn't have a major breakdown.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we'll have our answers.
Okay, any other items, new items, agenda items, before we move on to scheduling the next meeting? Okay, hearing none. The next meeting, we had kind of said we were going to put ourselves on a bi-weekly basis, typically Monday nights at 7 o'clock. So the next one could be October the 12th. I'll point out, though, it's Columbus Day. Or the next night, Tuesday the 13th. So any preference or discussion on it? Let's start with the 12th. Any discussion in favor of or opposed to?
Fine with me.
I think
Works
that's
for me.
okay.
Yeah.
Everybody
I
good?
think that's
You
fine,
okay,
Chris.
Kevin?
And with me, Skip.
Yeah? Skip?
That's okay with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good for me.
Okay, so I'm hearing Monday, October 12th at 7 p.m.
Is that good from Mike Travato? Is he on vacation at that? Is that a day off, Mike?
Well, it's a day off, but I may possibly be out of town. But I'm not sure you need to hold that on me.
Actually, you
Certainly.
can join in from your phone.
Yeah, I might be able to do that. But otherwise, I certainly can give any kind of advance information to Chris or Will if Will's in attendance as well, as far as a report if I can't.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good.
Mike, if you get any significant information on the paper process for permitting, would you shoot an email to Chris and me, please?
Yeah, I certainly don't anticipate anything before, obviously, the select board approval of that. So, that's our next step at that point. So.
Joe, just a quick question. Do we have any time frame for when National Marine Fisheries has any kind of an obligation to get back to us on mitigation?
The time frame was established by the Army Corps. Chris and I had a conference call with them 2 weeks ago, and they promised soon that they would be getting back to us. If we don't hear anything by the end of the week, we're going to make an inquiry,
Okay.
find out the status of that. If it goes longer, then I think on our end, we should begin to formulate ideas about Hilda, about the Mayo Creek project, and so forth, all the things that were discussed tonight.
does anyone remember if Sarah Peak, when she first became a representative, was she the Cape Cod representative to the National Marine Fisheries? She did something she was something like that. Do you remember, Kurt or Joe?
Well, she's still the liaison for for New England in terms of the Big Fish Regulation Board. I can't think of the exact title off the top of my head, but
That's not NMF. That's not National Marine Fisheries.
yeah, no, it is. It's the people that are regulating, Menhaden.
Like offshore or something.
Yeah, she's part of it. That's the big, the big national,
Noah.
they're the ones who,
Okay, yeah. So I was thinking that I will email her a good
no, it's-
letter.
yeah,
I'll
it's-
call her,
it-
but I'll email her and saying if she knows anybody who can give us a hand and she can talk to in that. Is that a
yeah,
good idea?
yes, she does have contacts there. Absolutely. I mean, I have a contact too. That's kind of what I was wondering at National Marine Fisheries. I don't want to say her name in public, but anyway, there's somebody that we work closely with at National Marine Fisheries who would at least be able to help channel, network, whatever.
Yeah, give us a little advice
you know,
or tip. Okay.
Back channel help.
One of the things that Chris and I have learned in those conference calls is at this point in time, I think it's fair to say that they might react negatively
that's right.
to that at this point in time. That could change, okay? But at this point in time, it's pretty sensitive. And we've gotten vibes from them that they would not appreciate that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think it's best to wait for the next step. When they get back to us, we'll know a good deal more about the parameters, and we can then strategize as to how we're going to proceed. That would be my recommendation.
You're right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Who was that, Skip?
Kurt.
Okay, I'm sorry. You
Second
can't
that
abstain,
motion,
Kurt.
Kurt.
You can't abstain on this one, Kurt. A second to the motion.
Skip, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, everyone. Have a
Good
good night.
job. Great work.